This video is part 1 of the Distributive Property video series. This video focuses on the meaning of multiplication. So we're going to talk about vocabulary first. We used to think of this sign as the times sign, but we're no longer going to refer to it as times. I want you to think of it as groups of. So rather than thinking 2 times 3, think, oh, I have 2 groups of 3. We're also going to think of it in another way. We're going to think of it as rows of. And this applies when we have an array. I've put these guinea pigs in an array for us. So rather than thinking of 2 times 3, I can see that I have 2 rows of 3. And let's talk about this symbol down here. We used to think of this as just the equal sign, the sign that says, okay, my answer is coming, my answer is on the other side, but we're no longer going to think of it that way. Now we're going to think of it as, it means the same as. So if I have a problem, for example, 2, and I'm going to use my language, groups of 3, is the same as 6. Think of a scale, and I've got a scale over here. Whatever I have on one side, I need to have something that's equivalent on the other so that my scale will stay balanced. I'm going to use this problem to illustrate the distributive property. This one says 6 times 8, but we know we can really think of it as 6 rows of 8 or 6 groups of 8. And I know that with multiplication, I can break those groups or those rows up however I want, as long as I have a total of 6 rows of 8 or some part that's equal to 8. So let's do that. So I think I'm going to split my array up like this. So if you can see, I have 6 rows of 5 right here, and I have 6 rows of 3 on this side. And we know that 8 is really 5 and 3 put together. So let's break our problem apart just like that. So over here we had 6 rows of 5, and on my other side I have 6 rows of 3. Okay, so I know what 6 rows of 5 or 6 times 5 is equal to. That would be 30, and 6 times 3 is 18. If I want to figure out what the total of my entire array is, I need to take the sum of my 2 parts. So 30 plus 18 is equal to 48. So that means that 6 groups of 8 is 48. Now, we didn't really solve 6 times 8. We broke 8 apart. So watch how we're going to write that. 6, and we thought of 8 in a different way. We thought of 8 as 5 and 3. And that is 48. But wait, we can even write that in a new way. Here's where we're going to look at the distributive property. We were making 6 groups of 8, but we thought of 8 in a different way. We split 8 up into 5 groups, or groups of 5, and groups of 3. So we had 6 groups of 5 on one side of our array and 6 groups of 3 on the other side of the array. Well, watch what else we can do. We can think about what we had at the bottom of that array. We had 6 groups of 5. We also had 6 groups of 3. Now, we need to use some sort of symbol to show that we need to do this first. before we go on to this part. So mathematically, we use parentheses. That says do this first. So we had to do that. And then we also needed to do this. That was our second step. We need to put parentheses around that as well. And then our last step was to put the two together. So in order to put the two together, we're going to use an addition sign. I want you to think back to the cover of this presentation. If you remember, there was a little stack of sticky notes, and it had 6 times on it. I want you to imagine that this is a whole stack of sticky notes, and each one says 6 times on it. We're going to pass those out. So we're going to do 6 times 5, and then we're going to pass out another sticky note over here and do 6 times 3. That's all we did on the other side. We have 6 times 5 and 6 times 3. So this is just an introductory video for you on the distributive property. We will explore this property with larger numbers in the videos to come.